The game is called Warp. It's the first of 4 that Microsoft is pushing during its live arcade house party. It's an interesting but not very appropriate way to start a party. Whatever guests show up first, this little guy would just simply blow to bits. It's a very fun thing to do within the confines of this game, at least. As a matter of fact, I discovered that given the tools to do such things to virtual humans, I would make sure they suffered very slow, painful deaths. You can actually do this by just simply not completing the blow-up command all the way through. You will learn something about yourself with this game. But as creative premise for a game that might be, the game is also about warping and using this and other similar abilities to solve puzzles, explore the environment, and sneak past your captors. As the game goes on, you'll see the developers then take their clever warping mechanics for granted as the puzzles eventually get very clever and somewhat challenging. There's also unlockable challenge rooms for extended replay value that get devilishly difficult in about halfway through. The game is approximately 4 to 5 hours long, longer if you stay for the collectibles, mini collectibles that is, and challenge rooms. Surprisingly, this game is not $15, but $10, something you don't see too often for live titles these days. I applaud this. So many games I missed out on and I would have bought and probably loved if not for the sometimes irking $15 price tag. Actually, half the reason I bought this game was because the game had a surprisingly low rating on the marketplace. Even some games that, personally, I think are just undeniably bad, that is, I've seen get better scores than this. It didn't look that bad, so I gave it a whirl, and it just further proves the masses don't know how to fairly or even properly rate games. With that said, though, this game is not perfect. With gameplay so clever, it's hard to imagine the developers couldn't be bothered to come up with a decent or even half-decent villain, who of which, let's just say, you'll see more of as the game comes to a close. Imagine Portal 1, but instead of GLaDOS and her sometimes disturbed, often monotoned wit, you get some bland robot guy that does nothing more than congratulate you and shove you off to the next puzzle. The game also boasts a couple small bugs, one of which had me starting the game over after buying the full game during the free trial. According to Trapdoor, the developers I contacted via Twitter, this was not by design, they apologized. One more minor gripe is that the cutscenes lack a certain presentational polish. I've seen some complain about the controls, which I had no problem with after I started paying more attention to my warp reticule. The game does seem to hint at a sequel, sort of, and I hope they continue it. It could evolve into a truly amazing IP a la Portal. And speaking of the ending, it was not actually half-assed like I expected. In fact, I really enjoyed it and was even a little saddened by a certain event that happens just before the final scene. If you want Warp, it's out again for a measly $10 on Xbox Live Arcade and soon to be PC and PSN.